We are very excited to have today the CEO of Ziglar Incorporated. You can go to Ziglar.com. We have Tom Ziglar. He is the CEO of that company and the son of Mr. Zig Ziglar. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. It's been a while.
It really has. In fact, here you are on show number 360, and I think you are on one of our first 50 or at least the first 100 shows. But thank you so much, and a lot of water under the bridge, to say the least.
Absolutely. Well, how are things going in your neck of the woods? Things are fantastic here.
Well, one of the things, Tom, is we had a crazy year, 2020. 2021 may also be crazy. We don't know yet. But as far as the real estate world, and we have a lot of real estate professionals listen to this show, and we have everybody else listen to it because everybody loves real estate. So real estate here in Houston, and I'm getting reports in the Dallas area where you're at, has been incredible.
Absolutely. In fact, we have a recent experience. My daughter started looking for a house in April. That's when everybody was scared, and so she put a little bit of earnest money down. And by the time she moved in, the house's value had increased incredibly. So she kind of hit the curve just right. So what a great time to invest in our future than right now in real estate.
We know that what your company does, Ziglar Incorporated, is so compatible, and real estate professionals all over the United States, and your company reaches out to the world. We know that they are engaged in the things that you are offering at Ziglar Incorporated. So let's tell people some of the things that you're doing. We know the motivation goes hand in hand with your name, but let's tell people some of the things that are going on that we may not know about at Ziglar Inc.
You bet. Well, Bill, one of the things I'm working on right now is I'm writing a book, and the book is about the disruption, the challenge, and the change that has happened because of the pandemic, and also the disruption, the challenge, and the change that's coming because of converging technologies. And so if you're in real estate, you should be all ears right now. The reason that the home market is growing so much is the remote workforce has hit full steam. People realize they don't have to stay in a downtown location right next to corporate, and they can actually work from anywhere in the world for anyone in the world, which puts a lot of power in the consumer. They're getting more bang for their buck. And probably over 250 to 300 articles I've read and the research I've done says that it's not going to go back. Probably at least 30 to 40% of the people who move to work from home are going to stay there, and the remote hybrid situation is going to increase. So what does that mean for Ziglar? Well, we are in the transformation business around mindset and around embracing change. Because is it a struggle to change? Absolutely. But if you have the right mindset regarding it and understand all the positives that come with it, that gives you a huge advantage. And so our business has actually increased over the last year simply because people know that, hey, I can't stop the change, but what I can do is get ahead of it and maximize it. And so you should see my home office. It's all set up. It's geared and ready to go. And there are literally millions of these happening. And homeowners are hunting for that perfect place. So I love it.
That's right. The market has changed in many ways, and many of those changes, if not all of them, are going to stay with us, and we have adapted. And I think the real estate community and really everybody else has adapted in a very interesting way. And quite frankly, I think some people enjoy working from home more and being able to work like that.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've kind of discovered is that in larger companies, they now really understand for the first time that quality of life equals quality of work. And a bunch of surveys have been done. The number one concern for big corporations is the health and well-being of their people. And so that flows in many directions. So number one is, how do we as an organization, how do we keep our remote people engaged? How do we collaborate and co-create and inspire and motivate them from a distance? How do we make them feel like they're part of the team? And then second, it goes to the physical. So you're seeing a lot of changes ergonomically where companies are investing in people's home office with, chairs that are more comfortable, computer setups that make sense, And then even to the physical location. If I'm going to be at home, gosh, I'd rather be looking at a beautiful golf course or mountain or beach out the back door, than stuck in a high cost per square foot place with minimal space because of the location that it was in. And so companies are starting to understand that. So that's created a lot of mobility. And in addition to that, much more productive family time, because the workflow has changed. I don't have to be tied to my work from a certain time to a certain time, because the reality is work, it never stops. It's there when I wake up and it's there when I go to bed. So the people who are adjusting are the ones who take advantage of those special moments. They'll run the errand in the middle of the day. They'll participate with their kids in something else. And so it really is, if you have the right approach to it, the right mindset towards it, it is a great opportunity to make the things that are most important truly the most important things, which are your health, your family, your relationships, your faith, the things that we've always talked about. And so we're helping a lot of organizations and people do that.
Yes, indeed. Potentially life-changing adaptations that we can make right now, because one of the things we all strive for, I know myself, is that to do what we love is so important. And sometimes people don't find out what that is right away, but by being able to use your home and do some things from your home and work like that, we enjoy our jobs more. Thus, all those categories of life, like you mentioned, are affected in a more positive way, I think.
Yeah, and just some real practical things that I think the market is probably going to see is there's going to be extra soundproofing put in the home office, because when you have two working cohabitants on Zoom at the same time, that gets kind of loud. You're going to see, maybe a little bit bigger space reserved for that office, because that's one of the main complaints. And so the places that are going to adapt to that the fastest are the ones that are going to win. The other thing, this is a little bit down the road, but the self-driving car and the car service are coming, which to me leaves that garage that we won't need anymore. What are we going to do with that space? How could we make that? How are we going to make that garage part of a healthy lifestyle living experience? So, there's a lot of things coming in the future that we don't see yet, but this opportunity for change is coming, and how we approach it is going to be how well we do in it.
Well, Tom, this morning, when in anticipation of talking with you today, I was thinking about your father. And when we're speaking of technology, projecting into the future like this, I thought, wow, Zig Ziglar, in his time, his platform was live audiences. He talked about your car being the place, a school where you can listen to his cassettes or CDs. So the technology that he had, and of course on TV as well. But I thought about what would Zig Ziglar do today with the Facebook platforms, all these technological things that we couldn't even imagine, the internet. I mean, what would you have thought? What was he saying in he lived to be until 2012. What was he talking about at those last days as far as technology? Was he excited?
He was very excited. And let me just say this. Whenever he would get what we call a tough audience, say a bunch of high school kids or people who are on the intellectual, analytical side in technology, because they're not very, demonstrative in their emotions, right? They're less likely to laugh out loud. He never complained once about the crowd. The only thing that he did was, how do I shape my presentation so that they will receive it? In other words, he was always solution focused, not problem focused. You see, because if you immediately think, oh, those high school kids aren't going to understand, you've created a problem that doesn't serve you or them, right? Because you're focused on the reality that they're different. But if you say, well, how do I connect with high school students? Then you're going to increase the potential of your message having an impact. And so I think that's the way we need to look at technology today. And so Dad, he had this great quote. He said, expect the best, prepare for the worst, and maximize what comes. And so Dad was always a maximizer. And so when we look at technology today, let's just look into the future on that. It's how it relates. we've got this thing called convergence going on. So we've got artificial intelligence, we've got quantum computing, we've got 5G, we've got augmented reality and virtual reality. When those things come together, instead of in the old days having to go hear Zig Ziglar live in an event or a live Facebook stream today, in the future, we'll just say, I want to hear Zig Ziglar. And on the back of our contact lenses, we'll go into a virtual reality room with a bunch of other people, and our brain won't know that we're not at a live event hearing Zig Ziglar. I mean, that's how powerful it's going to be. You'll be able to have a meeting with anybody at any time, and it will feel like you're in the same room with them. Your brain won't know the difference. And so the question is, if this is coming, how are we going to prepare ourselves, our mindset, our belief, the things that are going to allow us to embrace that so that we can go out and make a difference in that? So there's going to be companies that win, that get ahead of the curve and understand it, people that win, that get ahead of the curve. And then there are going to be the others, the ones that struggle, who will say, gosh, I wish it was the way it was. Well, that's not going to happen. So let's be on the winning side.
That's right. We're talking with Tom Ziglar, the CEO of Ziglar Incorporated. The website is Ziglar.com. And on the site, Tom, you have some great things, all the resources that you provide to people out there around the world. I like the section where you have life-changing programs. You have about, 9 of those. Choose to Win, Business Owner Boot Camp, Speakers and Trainers. You're available to speak. Are you doing any live? Do you have any live things set up for 2021?
Well, in 2020, I did over 300 webinars, and I was live on every one of those. I was there. I have some events that I call face to face now. It's funny how our terminology changes,
exactly.
But it's probably going to be May or June before we're out doing that. Some people are doing it. It just really depends on the part of the country that you're in. But I will tell you this, that there's no reason to wait. If you need to get your team together and to do something, do it virtually. There's a dramatic difference between a webinar done right and a webinar done wrong. And you can get amazing results with the productivity increase and everything else when you do it right. And that's what we've been doing for, I tell people for the last 5 years, my life's a webinar. And that's because I can speak in 3 different continents on the same day. It's kind of cool.
It is very exciting. And also you have all sorts of corporate training and great things on the site. So once again, I'll tell people to go to Ziglar.com. Recently, I saw one of your promos on Facebook about the book Born to Win. And just on your Facebook, and this was like 3 days ago, so the numbers are probably way up, but you had over 3 million views on the book Born to Win.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Just amazing. We have, you can follow us, find Zig Ziglar on Facebook. We've got over 6 million fans there. And that's because people need hope and encouragement now more than ever. Probably the 2 things that I'm most excited about that we're doing is we are certifying, licensing, and equipping people to speak and train and coach on our material. And so a lot of business owners love it because they can take all of our material, we equip them, and then they can go and develop their team with it. So it's a real powerful way to do it. And that's the ultimate messaging. You take a legendary message from Zig Ziglar, 5 decades of proven results, and you're able to teach it in your own way to your own team with the focus that you want to have. That's a powerful combination, and that's really what we're geared to supporting and doing right now, and it's growing all over the world.
As far as when we think about your reach at your company, are there areas in the world that you're dealing with more, or what are some of the countries and some of the feedback that you get from people around the world?
Well, the message is universal. Dad said this: you can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And so that kind of goes across every culture. People like that. So we have pretty deep roots in Europe and the UK, Australia. A lot of these are primarily English-speaking countries because, of course, Dad's audio is everywhere, and he speaks English, so that's a natural connection. But personally, I've been to places like Papua New Guinea and done programs over there. So you never know where it's going to be. But whenever you find somebody who really believes that philosophy that I just said, you can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. That's what our core message is built around. And wherever you find that, you'll often find a Zig fan.
Your father, the name Ziglar, is known for motivation. That's one of the words that jumps into people's mind, among other things. But tell people the motivation quote that's famous, and I've just heard it a couple of weeks ago from someone else, but I want you to say it about the motivation doesn't last.
Yeah, people complain. They'll say, motivation doesn't last. It wears off. And so what Dad would say in response to that is, yep, motivation doesn't last. But neither does eating or bathing. But if you do those every day, you'll feel better and smell better too. And so that's what we got to do. We got to stay motivated. We've got to create hope in the future. We've got to understand. I mean, one of my sayings is we create the future we see. And so what kind of future do we see? Is it optimistic, upbeat? Is there potential? Are we excited about the advances? I mean, I'm not disregarding the challenges we've been through because we've all been through them, but it's going to change, right? Things are going to improve. Things are going to get better. Are we ready for that? And the reason this is so important is because the way we see the future, that determines our thinking today. Our thinking today determines our performance today. And guess what? Our performance today creates the future we'll have. And so if you want a better future for yourself, then that depends on your performance, which is driven by your thinking, which is a response to the way you see the future. So we might as well have a positive view of what's going to happen. We might as well create that so that it does happen.
We're talking with Tom Ziglar, the CEO of Ziglar Incorporated, Ziglar.com. And by the way, Ziglar is spelled Ziglar. And Tom, we've got about three minutes or so left. What else would you like people to know about your company? Anything else you're doing? Books? Whatever.
Yeah, a little over a year ago, it came out with the book called Choose to Win. And the subtitle of that book is You Can Transform Your Life One Simple Choice at a Time. And so wherever you are, whatever trial you've been through, I just want to encourage you that the way out of it is a simple process of making one simple good choice at a time. And when you start to do that, those add up. And they can be little ones. I mean, it could be as simple as I'm going to have a glass of pure water instead of a Coke. I'm going to take a 10-minute walk instead of getting a bag of Doritos. I mean, those are the little things that we can do. And when those start to add up, it really does. It changes your life. And that's based on a principle found in that book, which is this: the fastest way to success is to replace bad habits with good habits. And so if you're a little frustrated, if your life isn't going the way you want it to, why don't you look at perhaps what are the little bad habits that you're doing that are keeping you from achieving the life you want? And what if all you did was changed out a little bad habit for a little good habit, and you kept doing that every day? Soon your life would be completely different. And so while it's not complex, while it's not hard to understand, sometimes it is a little difficult to keep at it. And so that's why that daily motivation that we were talking about earlier makes sense. And so you can find a lot of that at Ziglar.com, or even we've got a podcast called The Ziglar Show. You can get on iTunes or Stitcher. That's free. We've got over 1,000 hours of life-building content there that you can access.
That is great to know. The Ziglar Show. And, of course, your website, Ziglar.com, is abundant. To just even start with all the things that are there that your company is offering, you have so many things. So we'll encourage people, once again, Ziglar.com. And your phone number there is 800-527-0306. You are a fellow Texan, just a little bit north of us here, and you're enjoying things up there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, right?
Absolutely. It's good here. In fact, I was just on the phone a little while ago with our business partner who's actually located down in Houston. So get down there often and enjoy it. It's always good to hang out with Texans. Dad always said, he said, never ask somebody where they're from, because if they're from Texas, they'll tell you. And if they're not from Texas, don't embarrass them by asking.
There you go. That's right. Tom, that's super awesome. Please come back again. And once again, the website is Ziglar.com, and you could call them at 800-527-0306. And Tom, before we close, anything else? A last word?
Yeah, that's the key right now, is make that one simple choice that's going to take you closer to your purpose. Do that every day and your life will change.
Thank you so much, Tom Ziglar. And we will see you next time. Again, go to Ziglar.com. Great books, great resources there for all of us.
Thank you so much.